Hello everyone, this is Vinay here from Learn Coding with Vinay and welcome to my channel Learn Coding with Vinay-SQL for Dev. I have already created a contact list API series on my another channel which is Learn Coding with Vinay. Let me bring that on the screen so you can, I'm here. This is the one, right? So in this video series, I have created the contact list APIs and using ASP.NET Core, Entity Framework, Code First Approach and C#. Right, in this video series we have developed APIs. Those are required to manage our contact messages on cell phone. We are using it on a day-to-day basis, right? We are retrieving contact, we are searching contact, we are dialing, we are sending text messages, right? All those things, but those data are being stored in the background somewhere in the database. So that is covered in this video series, right? But what was not covered over there, since we use entity framework core over there, we did not write any single query because database access related code was handled by entity framework itself, right? We did not write any query. Right. Now since we have tables data, everything is ready at our end, it gives me a perfect opportunity to create this video where we will be going over the queries those are required to support your contact list, or basically contact message, searching of contacts, anything that functionality we are using on day to day on a mobile, right? So let me take you to the next slide where I have listed down all those queries. You can pause the video and read out all these, to make the video a little shorter. I am not going through right now because anyway we'll be going through this 10 in the as far as we go ahead with this video. So we'll cover all this. So but you can pause the video and check out what we are going to cover over here, right? And let me also tell that this video is for absolute beginner, for SQL, who want to learn SQL, who want to become a backend developer, or those developer who has worked on ORMs but never written any query and want to understand how those query will look like at the SQL end, right? And anyone obviously who wants to learn SQL with real world data example, right? Those are welcome. You are at the right place. So let's work on these queries and let's understand the tables first. So let me bring the SSMS over here. As I hope, yeah, okay. So let me walk you through the tables first. So we have users basically, then we have user contacts, right? Then we have user groups, user group contacts. This is a junction table between group and the contact, right? Or maybe mapping table, call history, and then message history. Let me run all this query and let me quickly walk you through on this. So this is a user table, and obviously we have name, email, mobile, and password. And then we have user contacts, right? So this is user contacts, mobile number, secondary mobile number, email address, birth date. And I have kept the uh, you know user detail, user context small in terms of field, because we you in the real world application you may find a lot of other fields like office number, some other email, office email, all those fields are there, but keep these sweet and short. I have taken only few columns. So those are names, mobile, secondary mobile, email address, and birth date. Then next one is the user group. So basically we organize certain contacts in our mobiles with with the group names, maybe friends, very close friends, relatives, family, right? Emergency contacts and all those things. And so this is the group table. Then this is the junction table or mapping table between group and contacts. So which group belongs to which contact belong to which group. And we can definitely add one contact in multiple groups, so that is also covered over here, right? With this design, so we have user ID and contact ID, group user ID, and user group ID and user contact ID over here. Then we have call history, obviously from call number to call number, start date times, end date time, and the user ID, whose this call is, whose for whose this call history is for, basically, right? So let's move to the next table. Then next one is the again the message history of users. Again we have message from message to mobile number, we have message text encrypted, right? And the send date and time. And so these are the tables involved in this, quite simple. Now let's go one by one, you know one by one on the queries. So let's bring the first that says, get a user's all contacts sort by name. So what do we need to do? We need to go over here, just run this query, and let's say we want it for a particular user only. So we will say user ID is equal to 1. Right. So get a user's all contact. Basically, what I'm talking about here is if I go over here, uh, let me bring the image so you will understand it better. Right. So this is the screen where we can see all the contacts listed of a user. This is an example of it. Right. So they are listed and they are listed in A to Z ordering. Right. So let's do the same thing. Let's see how the query looks like on this. Right. So we'll say user ID is equal to 1. So we get only one users one data. If I say user ID is equal to 2, we say only user 2's data. And then we will say order by, we will say contact name ascending. Right. So here the contacts are alphabetically ordered from A to Z. Right. Now we don't need to retrieve all this data. Right. Remember, we see only the names and maybe sometimes number at the bottom of the in some cell. You will see the contact name and the number. So we will not retrieve all those things. We will only retrieve the required things. So what are the required things? I would say the ID will be will keep the we'll keep the contact name. Sorry, contact name, and we'll keep the mobile out of this. Right, and let's say so now this is good, right? So we are only retrieving the contacts of a one user and that also in A to Z manner. So kind of you imagine this screen when you are landing on this screen, the mobile device or your mobile application gives a call to the API, right, to bring this data, and in the background this query like this would run that will give us the desired data. Right. Now let's move to the next one. So next is get a users all groups. Get users all groups. Now let me again take you to the image that you will understand it better. Okay. So here is a list of contacts, and here you can see groups. Once you click on groups, it will give you the list of groups for that particular user. So basically what this is the list we are trying to get now. And so what we will be doing, so where do we have it in user groups. So let's say, and where we will say where user ID is equal to 1. Let me run this. Okay, let me run for 2. Okay, so we are getting this, we are getting group names for a user. So this is good. Again we can say order by group name ascending, so that they are alphabetically ordered. Right. So very nice. So this is achieved. Right. Now let's move to next, the third query. The third query is about get a user's all contacts of a group. Basically a group and all contacts within the group. Right. That's what we need to do. Now here what we need to understand, we have three tables involved. Right. First we have user contact, then user group, and then user group contacts. Right. So here primarily the information lies on this table that has group and their contact. Now which contact belong to which user, that we will have to that we will have it over here, user contact. So let me run this query, right, and let me also bring groups. Right. So to get this, although it seems very simple and one liner, we need to involve three tables over here. Right. Because the group and the contacts, we will get it from this user group contacts table. The contact actual name and mobile number, we will get it from this, and group name we will get it from this. Now what I'm talking about, let me explain this by the image. Once you click on this group, you will be landed on a page where these are the list of contacts that belongs to that single group only. Let's say family, then these are the, let's say family, yeah. So this is the group where these many contacts are there. So we are trying to achieve this, why query. So let's go to the our query, and let's say first our main table is select star from user group context, or sorry, it will be user context, right? Because that's where we need to filter out by user id first. User context where user id is equal to 1. Let's say we'll work on the user one query more because we have data over there, many data, right? So this is what we have, but we only want those are there in the in a certain group, right? So what do we need to do? We'll have to, let's say, let me organize this in multi-line query. That way it will look better, right? So we'll say this as uc. So as of now, let's say uc dot star, right? And let's run this. Okay, so this is good. Now what we'll be doing, we need only a group contact, right? So what do we need to do? We need to say inner join with the group user group context table, right? Over here I will say user ugc on user contact dot, here id is equal to ugc dot user contact id, right? And let's say, so we are getting only the contact now who are there in the user group contact, right? Sorry, so what's the wrong keyword from? Okay, this is good, inner join, this is good. Okay, semicolon, this was extra. And let's say actually we need ugc dot group id, right? Now let's say, let's run this, right? So what do we have? We have the contact details and we have that group id. Now what do we need? We need group name now, right? For this, so we need to make a join with user groups table. With user groups, we will give it a name ug, and we'll say on ugc dot user group id is equal to ug dot id. And with this we can also bring ug dot group name. Now let's run this. Okay, now we will have to, because since we have user id in other table also, we'll have to make sure we are telling it that which one you should pick, right? And that's the reason, while working on join query, one should always use alias name, right? So we have the group name also, right? Now what is the ask? The ask says, we need to list only user of a particular group, right? So what do we need to do? We just need to add and we'll say ug user group dot either id is equal to 1, or we can say, let's say if there are, okay, so for one it is a close group, close friends, right? So we have the contact. Now what do we need to do? We only need few things, right? So we, let's keep this on top, right? And here, from here, we don't need everything. What do we need? We need contact name and comma uc dot mobile, right? So this is how it will look like. I'll say comma over here, right? So this is the group, this is the group and these are the contact for that particular user, because group may vary, based on the user. Now let's say for two, I think we have 6 or 7 number of group id, let's say. We don't have it any. Yeah, we have for 6 7, I think, for emergency. Yeah, so we have only one group for user id 2, and we have only one contact added to it, right? Excellent. So let's make it 1 and let's make it 2 this time. Let's say if we have another group. Okay, so we have one more group for user id, which is family, and there is only one contact added to it. And we have one more group, that has four contact in it, close friends, right? So this is what we have retrieved, basically a contact number for a group. This is what we are retrieving, right? Now let's move to the next query. Now the next query is, yeah, get a contact and its group names for a user, right? Get a contact and its group name. So basically what we are trying to achieve over here is, whenever you open any your contact list, when you go to single contact, right? When you land to single contact, you will have the list of groups that contact belong to. So for this person belongs to these three groups: emergency contacts, and sorry, two groups: emergency contacts and family, right? So this is what we are trying to achieve. So let's go to the query again, right? And this time what do we need to do? We will take this entirely, right? Because we already have it and we don't need this group, right? Let's understand this, what is it is returning, right? Okay, so it is giving us the list of contacts, right, for a user. So user id 1. So this is good, but what do we need to do? We need to pass it one contact, and we need to pass one contact number, and that is actually, and the query should return the list of group it is part of, right? So what we are supposed to do over here, so let's say we take contact number, user contact, so uc dot id is equal to, let me take 5. I think this guy, I know this guy belongs to multiple groups, so let's say, what does it return? Okay, sorry, my bad, it has to end, right? So we have this one guy and he belongs to multiple groups, right? So the group names are listed over here. So ideally we just need group name, so I would, I just keep these contact name and mobile. We don't need it because this is a single contact, right? This Vinayakan. So ideally the query should look like this, right? So it gives us, the 5 number contact is belongs to these two groups, right? This is what it is giving. Now let's move to the next query. So we are done with 4, 5. Now birthdays in a month, right? Now let me explain by image again. See, when we land on a particular contact, we see the birth date of that particular person, right? So if it is saved, we can see it. When we go to calendar, go to, and this is an Android phone example. So if you go to Google Calendar, if there are any birthdays, it will list down over here, right? This is one example, right? So we are trying to achieve, if in a particular month, if there are any contacts whose birthday is coming up, it should display it over here, right? So this is what we are trying to achieve. So let's do it. So this is quite simple actually. Let me go to user contact table where we have all the contact, and it's quite easy, right? So we have it. Now since we have birthday dedicated column over here, what we will be doing, where first of all, just let's say user id is equal to 1, because we want only records for user id 1. Currently there are 10 records, now there will be 7 records, okay, because for user id 1 we have 7 records only, right? And I would say month of birth date, birth date should be the month of, let's say, what do we have? We have 12, 11, 1, 1. So for 1 we have 2 records, let's see. Okay, so we got the 2 record. 11 we got, okay, we got 1 record. Let's say 5 we got 1 record. Let's say 6, right? So we don't have anyone's birthday on the 6th month, but let's say, let's give it 1, and let's say what do we need. So always retrieve what do we need. Don't fetch those columns, those are not required. So in this example we just need, let's say, contact name and number. So what we'll be doing, we'll just take contact name and mobile from here, and because that's what we saw on the calendar also. Usually you might see someone's number over here also, right? But here we are just giving the name, right? So I'm just taking name and the mobile number. Remember, don't overload your queries. If you need if you need if your table has 10 columns, you need only 3 columns out of it. Make sure you are selecting only 3 columns, not the entire record, because if you are not going to deal with the rest of the column, it's just an overhead on your network, and it might result on over a time a period in slowness, right? So let's move to the next. So this is quite simple. Again, we have already worked on it, right? Emergency contacts, but let me go up. We already did it for group contact over here, right? So let me also user groups. Let's see what user groups we have. Okay, emergency and emergency. Okay, so we have close friend, family, office, emergency for user ID 1, and for user ID we have only emergency. Okay, so we need to bring emergency contact, right? So here we need to pass the number 6. Now before that, let me take you to the image what I am talking about, so you'll understand it better. Yeah. So here is what you can see. Whenever your cell phone is locked, you can still actually dial emergency call, certain, helpline, maybe accident helpline, health helpline, right? And then if you have added emergency contacts, then you can see it over here, right? Where my mouse is hovering, you can see this. So let's try to get those emergency numbers contact list, right? So we know it's the group number 6 for user ID 1. So we'll have to give it that way. So we have 3 contacts listed as emergency contacts. So ideally, if user 1 is operating the cell phone, then these 3 guys should have been listed over here, right? Now let's see for the user ID 2 also. So we have, I think, let's go to groups. I think for user ID 2 we have emergency as 7. Yeah, okay, 7. So what do we have? Right. So we have one record in emergency group for user ID 2. For one, we had many. Right. Let's move to the next one. I don't want to save this. Okay. We cancel this. Let's move to the next one. Now the next one is search. Okay. Excellent. So next is search context by name, email, or mobile. Right. So if let me take you to the image so you understand it better again. Okay. So here is the search screen. Basically, if I go on a list of your contacts by pressing this binocular, you will have the text box on it. Depending on your cell phone, you might have other option, but basically the search will look like this. You can type here the contact person's name, mobile, or even email. So any 3 of these, the search will work, and based on that the records will be displayed. So let's work on that. So what do we need to do? Contacts, right? So let's first make a query on user contacts. User contacts. Right. So let's make query and user contact. Let's add the primary condition, which will be user ID 1, right? Because your user can see only his or her contacts, right? So we have listed these, right? So this is good. This is all. Now what do we need to do? We need to put down one more condition which says, and either cell phone, either contact name, either mobile or email, right? So let me write it that way, that and. So what do we need to do? We need to say, let's say mobile, like I would say percentage, and then whatever text we want to search, right? Or again, contact name, like, or, right, any, the given text if found in any of these 3 column, then it should display the list of records, right? So again, percentage 1 1. So let's say I have typed the mobile number 1 1, right? So I get the record, I get the contact who has 11 in mobile number. Let's say I'll say, GA, Ganesh, or maybe AN. Let me keep AN. So everywhere this AN will be passed from the query from the screen, right, or from the mobile. So we have two contacts with AN, right? So it ultimately results in this, the search screen. If I go to here, writing number or any name or any email, it will be as a input parameter to your query, and it will search for existence of it in these three field, right? Mobile, contact, and email, and it will list it over here. Now, you know again, let's have only required column. So what do we need? We need contact name and mobile only as of now, right? Now let me write this query a little better way, so we can have the input parameter, and just changing the parameter, the query will pick up the cap parameter and display the desired result, right? So what do we need to do? We need to declare a variable. Let's say input. I'll mark it as varchar. Let's say 10 as of now, right? Then set at the rate input is equal to, let's say, just like we did for 1 1, right? On- and then instead of this, we will have to write single quote percentage, then the variable name, basically input, and then again the single quote and the percentage, right? This is what we need to write. So let me do it for all other fields also, and then we'll check it from there. Okay, so let me copy these. Let me put these. Let me put these, and let's try to run this. My bad. Okay, input. What's the problem? Declare at the rate input. Okay, I was missing. Sorry, my bad again. So let me go ahead and run this. Now it gives us the correct record, right? Now if I say how many Gmails I have, right? How many persons who are using Gmail? So we have this many persons. So ideally we should also take email over here, right? So now it looks better, right? Or maybe let's say I want to find out 456. If we have 456 in someone's number, we don't have. Right, that's okay. Let's say if we have 22, something like this. So we have one number, right? So basically your input is being replaced with 22 and checked against mobile, contact name, and email. All those three fields. Right? So this is how usually your search API or search queries work in the background. Right. Now let's move to the next query. This was 7. Yeah. So we are moving close to our all on queries. Now this is the 8th query. Now the 8th query says, search messages by name, text, and mobile number. Right. Now one thing I want to add it over here, that with in real world application, searching actually, uh, searching tags or contact works, but in our case it won't work, because in database we have stored it as an encrypted, and the encryption is again done on the C# side, right? So from the backend we won't be able to make query on this message text column, but however we can work on this message from and message to, right? So what do we need to do? Let me say where primary condition would be user ID would be 1. So let's say what do we have? Okay, so now we have only messages for 1, right? And let's try to bring the individual column, right? So what we have, we'll say ID, user ID we don't need. We'll say message from, we'll say message to, we'll say message text, right? and then we'll say send date time, right? So let's see if this is working first of all. Right, so this is working for user ID 1, which is very good, right? But see, note one thing, what we are displaying over here is the number actually, but let me take you to the image so you'll understand it better. So if I go ahead to message history, see, this is the message history, right? We can see the contact person name, right, and some last message, right? So for message we won't be able to bring this, message text, because that has to be done on the front end side, right, because the message is encrypted. But one thing we can definitely do over here is to bring the contact name, right? Now where do we have contact name? We have contact name in user context table, right? Let me let me actually put it down over here. So user context, right? Now here what do we need to do? Now let me run these two queries so we understand it better, right? So we have over here, basically this guy has sent message to this guy, right? So this guy if exist on the user contact, right? So this guy over here, then the name should be displayed. So that is the same thing happening in our mobile also. If we are getting a message from someone, if that person's or that number is stored in our mobile with some name, then we will have the name on it, right? If we don't have the if we haven't saved that number, then only the mobile number will be displayed, right? So let's try to get first the name of the contact, right, and then work on the second part. So let's, since we are going to use join, let me make this, let me make this alias. I'll just say control h dot, and over here also I'll say mh dot, right? And let's see if this is working. Okay, so this is working. Now what do we need to do? Instead of these numbers, we also need names, right? So where do we have name? We have name in user contact table, right? So what do we need to do? Here we'll have to use left outer join. Why? Because you can still get a message from someone who is not stored in your cell phone, right? So in that case we should display the number, not the name. So we need to use left outer join with user contacts, let's say uc, and then we will say mh dot from, sorry, message from is equal to uc dot mobile, right? Here we'll have to make a join on mobile, right? And let's say here I'll just say uc dot contact name, right? Let's go ahead and run this. I forgot the comma. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, what is the problem at mh? Okay, I missed the on word, right? So now we have this message from, and if message is stored, the contact person name is stored, then it will give us the name. Otherwise it will just give us the number, otherwise it will give us the null. Now let's do the same thing for 2 also. So what do we need to do? We can't use this and get the 2, because message 2 is also a separate column. So we will have to take the instance of this again as a second uh, join, for second join, right? And what we'll be doing this time, we'll be just saying 2, right? And this has to be uc1, and let's say uc1 dot mess contact name, right? So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, we have error. What is the problem? Okay, what was the error? Incorrect syntax near dot. Okay, where do we have? Yeah, okay, so comma was missing, my bad. So let's go ahead and run these. And okay, so now we have message from name, message to name, and then text, and whatever date, send date whenever. Now we have this as a marked as different columns actually. So what do we need to do? We need to achieve, if there is a name, give me name. If there is no name, give me number, something like that, right? So what we will be doing, I'll just add one more column over here after, this for one particular, this two guy only, right? So what we'll be doing, we'll have to use coalesce. So if name is there, so what do we need to do? UC1 dot contact name, then give it that. Or if not, then give me number. Then what do we need to do? Message to. If it is also not there, give me something like this, as you know, let's say two. Only say, I'll just say two, right? And we'll have to again put down comma over here. So what, now let's go ahead and run this and see what is happening over here, so you will understand it better. See, so for this particular guy, this particular guy, since we had the contact name, it gave us the contact name. Again, second for it, we had the contact name, basically the contact, this number was stored in our list, so it gave me the name. Now this guy was not stored, so it gave me the number. Again, this guy was not stored, so it gave me the number only, right? So ideally this column are not required now. So if I go ahead, this is not required, this is not required, this is not required, and this is not required. No, ideally actually this these two columns are not required, about two are required, because for from we haven't done it. So let's go ahead and run this, right? So this is good, this looks good now, right? If there is a name, we have the name. If there isn't, then we don't have it, right? And basically from, and we can do the same thing for from also, right? And so this is an exercise for you. You just need to copy this and do it for message from. So you can have this column also something like this, right? Okay, now let's move to the next example. Get contact history, right? So get contact history, so we have dedicated table for contact history. Let's go to the call history. So let me run this, and let's have the primary condition, which is user ID is equal to 1. Sorry. So we have list of call history for user ID 1 only. Now again, the same thing we need to do. What do we need to do? Call from and call to. If these numbers are stored as a contact in our list, then name should appear. Otherwise, the contact should appear as it is, right? So let's first do one thing. Let me do this. Let me break this into multi-line query. Let's mark is as ch, and let's say ch dot, let's say id. As of now, let's take everything id, then ch dot call from, ch dot call to, then ch dot start date time, then ch dot end date time, and then let's see whether this is working or not, and then we'll work on the join. Okay, so this is working fine. Now what do we need to do? We need to add, we need to, instead of this, if the number presents as a part of contact list, then the name should appear. Otherwise the number should appear as it is, right? So what do we need to do? We need to, let me make also this ch dot. So we'll have to again left outer join our user contacts table. We'll mark it as uz on ch dot call from is equal to uc dot mobile, right? And let's, so here we'll say uc dot contact name, right? And similarly we'll have to do it for 2 also. So I'll take this, mark this as uc1, and this would be UC1, and this would be 2. So let me make this UC1 dot mobile. Let's go and let's make sure that I haven't forgotten the UC1 dot mobile contact. Should be contact name. So let's see. Right. So we have call from. So the if call is there, is stored as a part of our contact list, it will give us the name. Otherwise, it will give us the number only. Right. So let's work on that. So what do we need to do? So I have that ready-made available. Let me do it from here, and let me control V. Let me remove this. Right. So we have only the desired column. Now we have this number calling to this guy calling to this guy, something like this. Right. Now remember, when we are calling or we are sending messages, either from or to will always be our number. Right. Will always be from or to will always be our number. We can't see someone's chat history in our mobile. Right. Basically chat history of a two number, and both are not there in our uh, list. Right. So what do we need to do over here? We can take one more condition. We can pass one more input over here. I think I forgot to show you the screen of that. Okay, so here is the screen where we can see the list of our call history. Right. So basically for us, this guy called me, or basically I called that guy. Right. So from or to is always hidden. Right. Based on whether it is an outgoing call or incoming call. Right. So let's try to achieve similar to that. So what do we need to do? Let's say over here, let's say I am adding this one more example, that this is the number of a user ID, one mobile number. Right. If call from is equal to this guy, then this is outgoing number. Right. Because then the user had made a call. Right. Else if this is not, then it is the incoming call. Right. I hope this is understood. It is quite easy. Right. So let me go ahead and run this. So we can see this guy, this is user one's number. Right. It is outgoing. This is user one's number. So it is in from contact, so it is outgoing. Right. It is in to contact, so it is incoming. Right. So you must see a call to me, or I we dial. When we dial, we can see green or red call button icon. Right. Call icon that indicates actually whether we missed the call, whether it was an outgoing, or whether we have received the call. Right. So this is a kind of query. And remember one thing over here, I am not telling exactly that this will be the database and this will be the query. This is for learning purpose only. Right. Actual may be a vast different, or there may be vast different, or there may be more columns, more fields, and all those. So those possibilities are there. But the purpose here is to list the call history that we have listed down it over here. Now you can display it in any manner. This is just a on this is just a SQL. So over here we will see only tabular structure data, but you can have your own design, whether in mobile application or sometime on web also. You can use this data and display them accordingly, this like this is how it is displayed. Right. So maybe the red one, let's say missed call or something, maybe the one uh, and then over here I think this is an iPhone screen, but in the Android screen you will see the icons, calling button, whether we have called or whether we have received the call, something like that. Right. Maybe in a green or blue button or something like that. Right. But they uses this data, and ultimately this data is transformed into some sort of icons or some sort of list over there on your screen. And so this is that query that gets the call history of your contact. Right. Now the final one. Right. So what do we need to do? The last query, let me put it down over here. Get recent call, maybe top 20 or of for a last week or from a last week. Right. So what do we need to do? We just need to do the same thing over here. we already have the call history in this query. What do we need to do? We just need to say, let's say top 20. I think we have less record than 20, so I'll say, let's say top 7, right? So let's go ahead and run this, and it gives us the top 7, whether it is outgoing, whether it was outgoing or incoming call, right? Recent call basically, right? Now if the recent call is based on the time, so we'll use the same query, and we'll remove top from here. And if you want to see last 1 week's call, right, so what do we need to do? We need to put down a condition that says, and ch dot, let's say, call, I would say, end date, right? Call end date is less than equal to get date minus 7, right? So basically last 7 days data, right? So we see this. What are the date? 15, right? No, not last 7 days actually. Data before a week, and this is what it is, data before a week. So this is how it looks like. So recent call can be based on either top record or also based on some date range. And here we have taken just only 1 week. Right. So this way, we have covered almost, all queries. Those are listed on the over here, right? And if I give you an overview of images over here, then this is the call history. This is the all contact. This is search contact. This is not the one. Okay. This is an example of a groups, listing groups of a user, then contacts of a group, then birth dates, groups of a particular contact, then birth date in a calendar, right? So we have cover all those things. I hope you enjoy the series, and now I hope I can convey the queries well to you guys. And this is a backend kind of stuff people will do, maybe a SQL developer or a backend developer will do, right? So if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, which is Learn Coding with Vinay hyphen SQL for Dev. If you wanna know more about such real world examples for SQL, or you wanna learn SQL from the beginning. And check out my courses also, on my website, which is learncodingwithvinay.graphy.com. Those are online instructor led tutors by me only. So just visit your website and visit my website, and check out more details over there. And again, I'll put down all these details in the comment section and the description of this video as well. My website plus the ASP.NET Core Web API video series, right? So thanks for watching this video, guys, and hope to see you in another video. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.